Hello, how are you? I'm Laura. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to be reviewing the books that I read last month, so January of 2022. And let's just get right into it. So last month I read 7 books. I read 3 mystery thriller books, 2 fantasy books, and 1 horror book. So I'm sort of dipping my toe in to horror. And the reason for that is because I have a goal this year, actually in the next few months, where my goal is to finish this book here, House of Leaves. And this book I've done a lot of research on because I heard about it last year, I think, and it sounded so cool to me. It is a horror book, which is why I haven't completely, immersed myself in it yet, because I am scared. I'll explain, but this book is very different. It has pages where there's like one word. It has nobody can read that. It has let me find some good stuff. It's basically like you have to flip this book upside down. You have to flip it sideways. You have to read certain parts in a mirror. And I have started it. I'm actually reading it out loud to my wife because we do that. So it's been kind of hard to find time where we're both not too tired or not too busy. But we are on chapter, sorry if this is boring, but we are on chapter 9, 8. So I've read some of it, but the formatting, also there's footnotes in here, tons of footnotes that lead you to other chapters. I don't know if you can see, but there's different colored writing. All of that is fine. None of that intimidates me. None of that turns me off in any way. I love the way this book is written. The thing holding me back is that I'm a wimp and I'm scared. I've heard a lot of people say that it affected them mentally and psychologically, so that is my fear with this book. I'm just straight up scared. I don't watch scary movies because I get scared really easily. So what I'm doing is I am trying to read other horror books to one, to prove to myself that I can handle it, and 2, so that by the time I really get into this book, maybe I'll not be as afraid. So all of that being said, I did read a horror book in January. So the way I'm going to break this down is I'm going to go what I rated lowest to what I rated highest. And the way that I rate books is basically if a book, if I'm thinking about the book I'm reading when I'm not reading it, and if I'm not wanting to put it down, and if when I finish it, it stays in my mind, I'll give that book a 5-star. It doesn't have to be the best written. It doesn't have to, be really insightful. I just base it on, am I still thinking about this book? Did I have trouble putting this book down? And so I think all of this is based on Goodreads. So I think where most people might give books 4 stars or 3 stars, I'm a little bit more generous, and I think that comes down to not having read a lot of books. I just recently got back into reading in the past couple of years. In my 20s, I would read a lot, and then I would like go a year without picking a book up again. So it's just been the past 2 or 3 years where I've really gotten back into reading. So, and I think, you know, that could be a really good perspective for some people, because I might be less harsh or, you know, like if with a thriller, like there are people who've read every thriller ever written, and so no twists will get them. But I have not read that much, so like I feel like I might be affected by a twist, or a twist might throw me. So I might have a different perspective on that than maybe someone who's more seasoned, I guess. So all of that being said, we're gonna start with, and I do have notes because I'm a straight up nerd. So, and I forget like what I'm talking about regularly. So the only book that I gave 2 stars in January was called The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. And this book is really popular. And I don't get it. So here's the thing. It is really difficult to make a book. I realize that. I'm not an author. I haven't written a book. And I get that authors put their life, their time, their energy, their resources into these books. And so I hate like being harsh about books, because I realize that, you know, it's difficult. But like this book just wasn't good. To me, in my opinion, it was boring. Okay, so here's like the basic summary. Is there's this lady named Hannah. She is married to this guy Owen, and she gets like a note one day from a neighbor kid, I think, that says, it's literally just a note. All it says on it is protect her. And it's from her husband, and it's in reference to his daughter, who's this girl Bailey. She's like 16. She's a teenager, but like the way she's written, it just seems like maybe the author doesn't know how to write teenagers, because I've never met a teenager like this mean. I mean, teenagers like, you know, have their moments, but it just wasn't very believable. No teenager talks like this girl. But anyway, so he leaves her a note saying protect her, talking about his daughter. And the wife, Hannah, just basically goes like on this whole like journey to try to find out what happened to him. And there were some redeeming qualities. Like some of the moments between Hannah and Bailey were kind of nice, and kind of, you know, not heartwarming, but like nice. I don't know how else to say it. But for the most part, so this book is supposed to be a thriller, mystery-ish type situation, maybe suspense or family drama, but at no point was I like worried about anything bad happening. No point did I care really what happened to this guy or his wife or his daughter. I know it sounds really, really mean, but I had a hard time caring. And yeah, so I mean, like I said, I don't want to be harsh. It's very hard to write a book. You know, I will, if Laura Dave releases something else, I will read it, and try again. I'm not going to write her off as an author, but for me personally, I didn't connect with the story. I didn't connect with the characters. It's like, for what it was supposed to be, which was like this whole mystery thriller of like, where's the husband? Who really is the husband? And, you know, what did he do? And what is he running from? And, you know, secrets. Like, it just felt very anticlimactic and very much like nothing was progressing for me. A lot of people loved it. Like, I think it won something, best some kind of book, or I literally have no idea what I'm talking about, but my point is a lot of people like it, and I'd love to know why. Moving on. So the next book, I gave, actually all the books from here on out, I gave at least a 3-star. So the next book I gave a 3-star was called My Darling Husband by Kimberly Bell. And I listened to this one on audiobook at work. And it was fine. Like, the story was fine. It just, again, like, it was a mystery thriller, suspense-ish. Kind of the same problem, where I didn't connect with anybody. It's about this lady named Jade, and she has 2 kids, and I cannot remember their names, but she has a boy and a girl, and her husband is a famous chef. Sorry, I read all these books like a month ago, and I've already read like 10 books in February, so I'm sorry if everything's kind of like jumbled up. I forget plots and characters really easily, especially for books that I didn't really love. I guess I could have just prepared for this, but anyway, so she has these 2 kids. Her husband's a famous chef, but this lady, when she gets home from picking her kids up from school or whatever, there is a man in her house, and he essentially holds them hostage. Her husband isn't there. He has to like go get some money to pay the person holding them hostage to like, you know, save their lives or whatever. Classic home invasion story. And so most of the book revolves around that and the actual home invasion. The problem was, for me, is that I related more to, I feel like somebody said this on Goodreads, and I totally agreed with it. I related more to the, like, villain than the family that were supposed to be, like, the protagonists. I just really felt for him, and I don't think you're supposed to. I think you're supposed to, like, I mean, he's, like, not a good guy, you know, don't get me wrong, but, like, I couldn't connect with this family that I was supposed to be feeling sorry for. But that being said, the story did progress nicely. I was interested. I wanted to know what was going to happen. And so that's why I gave it 3 stars. The next book that let me look at my nerdy notes, that I gave 3 stars was called Something in the Water by Catherine Steadman. This was the first book I read this year, and basically this woman named Erin, she is a documentarian, is that the right word? She makes documentaries, and her husband Mark is that his name? Yeah, he is a bank person. I'm like the worst at reviews. What am I doing? He's in the financial industry, and they go to Bora Bora, I think. Yeah, for like their honeymoon, and they're there for a couple weeks. And while they're on their vacation or honeymoon or whatever, they are in the water, like scuba diving, and they find something in the water. Title of the book. They find something, and I'm not going to spoil anything. If anyone wants spoilers, like, I love to spoil books for people. Like, I will spoil the shit out of some books if anyone wants me to. But for now, I'll keep it spoiler free if I can, as much as I can. But whatever, they find something in the water. They have to decide if they should say something or like just keep it to themselves. And it basically follows what happens after they make that decision, and then they go back to, I want to say, London. And so it follows like what happens due to that choice. I liked it a lot. There were just some aspects, like there's one character who I felt, he wasn't like a main character, he was like kind of a side character. I don't think it would spoil anything to say. He is like, the wife, Erin, is making this documentary about people in prison, and she's following them like while they're in prison, and then once they're out, she chooses like 3 different people to follow. One of the guys that she is following, his behavior just doesn't make sense to me. Like, he is kind of like this mob boss guy, and he keeps like doing favors for her, but like it's just out of character in my opinion for someone who's like a mob boss. Like, you're just gonna do favors for this person that you barely know for like nothing in return. I don't know. Anyway, I hope that doesn't spoil anything. Anyway, so yeah, I really liked it. I gave it 3 stars, like I said, and it was good. It just wasn't like the most memorable thing ever. Moving on. Okay, so the next book I gave 4 stars. I actually have this book with me, and this one is called The Empress of Salt and Fortune. This is a teeny tiny book. It's like a little short book, novella. It's a fantasy book. And in it, this one's actually kind of hard to explain, but basically we're following this cleric named Chi. I think that's their name. And they go to a place. They basically go meet this old lady who is named Rabbit, and she was a handmaiden for a princess back in the day named Inyo, and she tells them this story of like how she met the princess and her relationship with the princess and like some things that happened early in her life. And this one I also listened to as an audiobook. It took me like, I think it was only like 2 or 3 hours long. Very short. And it was really good. I gave it 4 stars, like I said. There's also more in the series that are still following the cleric Chi, but she goes and like hears stories from other people about their past. So this one, it was Rabbit, and then I don't remember the rest of the series because I haven't read it yet, but one of them, the 2 other ones, I think there's 2 more, and they both follow like other people's stories, but it's the same like setup. I just don't remember like exactly the storyline of this one, but yeah, it basically follows Rabbit, her relationship with the princess, and like the love that they shared. It's very cool. So I would recommend that one. Let's see. The next one. Actually, the rest of them. So the next 3, I give 5 stars. So pretty good month. 3 5-stars. So the next one was also a fantasy book. It's more like, well, adults definitely can read it, but I think it's technically maybe considered children's. But it's called The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. I don't know if I've been saying the authors, oops. Empress of Salt and Fortune is Nevo. That's who wrote that one. Yeah. So, Girl Who Drank the Moon, Kelly Barnhill. This book was so cute. It's pretty rare that I give a 5-star, like 5 stars to a kid's book. Other than like Harry Potter books, but this was adorable. And the basic plot is there's this town. Well, it's like a city, I guess. It's called the Protectorate. And the people, like the elders in this place, tell everyone stories about this witch who lives in the woods. And according to them, this witch comes and steals a baby every year. They have to sacrifice a baby, like the youngest baby. Or otherwise the witch will, burn their city or like do a bunch of horrible stuff to them. And of course the people believe it because they don't know any better. So there is a witch. She is not like needing a baby to be sacrificed though. She's just this chill old lady who basically she sees that they keep putting babies in the woods, and so she's like, why are they doing this? So she takes the baby every time because she doesn't want the baby to die, and they keep putting them there. So she takes them and she takes them to nearby cities where she knows that the babies will be raised properly and loved and cared for. But this one where this book starts, the baby that she takes, so usually she feeds the babies on the way to the city. She feeds them stars, like starlight, which I thought was really cool. And this particular baby, she gives moonlight instead on accident. And so because the moon is magic, she knows that it will magic the baby. So she knows that this baby is now going to be a witch. And so she's like, it was an accident, but she's like, oh, I can't take this kid to this family. They're not gonna know what to do with her. She's gonna be magic. And so she ends up taking her and raising her and names her Luna. There's also a swamp monster called Glurk and a little baby, I forget what they call it. It was such a cute name, perfectly tiny dragon. Anyway, there's a little dragon named Firion, and it's adorable. And so it follows them and Luna as she grows up and her relationship with the people in her life and her swamp. And there are also some other side main characters that we get to follow, and it's very cute. If you have little ones, this is the perfect book to read with a child, or as an adult. 5 stars, highly recommend. The next book I actually have also a 5-star. There is a Netflix movie about this book, which is how I found out about it. My son Jaden watched the movie and then asked me if I had seen it or told me about it, described it to me. And so and I had heard of the book before. So anyway, it is I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. This book is a horror, technically, I think. Psychological horror. This is the one I was talking about where I said I read a horror. Actually, I read 2, I think. Anyway, this book was creepy as hell. But it was so good. It was so good. I'm sure everyone's heard of this, but if you haven't, it's about a couple who are on the road driving on a road trip to the boyfriend's parents' house on this old farm that he was raised. And it's told from the point of view of the girlfriend, and she is the whole time, pretty much from the beginning, she's oh, I'm thinking of ending things. I kind of want to end the relationship. I don't know how I feel about this. And then she's simultaneously saying how great he is and how perfect they are for each other. And so you just have this feeling of what's happening, if he's so great, why are you saying this? It's she'll just go off on a tangent about how great he is and then just end it with well, I'm probably gonna end it. What? And there's also just there's something about the writing that is just like, you just feel like something's off. You feel like something's not right here. I can't put my finger on it, but it's very creepy and unsettling. But this was one of those books that I just had to read to prove to myself that I can do it. Like, I can read something scary and, you know, be okay. And I got a little bit freaked out when I had to go outside by myself the night I read it, but I was fine. And the story is very good, in my opinion. So, and personally, I don't think I'm gonna watch the movie because I know my limits, and I know there were certain things that happened in this book that I think if I saw them visually, I would have a hard time. But that's just me, because I can't handle like super scary stuff like that. But as far as the book, I just think it was so well done. I can't like even really say anything else about it, because if you haven't heard of it or haven't read it or watched it, anything I could say could spoil anything in here. But just know that it is great, and if you like books that make you feel kind of creeped out, this is the one. And then in that same vein, the final book that I have to talk about, I also gave 5 stars, was Shutter Island by Dennis Lehane. This book I just heard about recently, and I'd heard mixed reviews. Like, some people said it was pretty slow moving, some people said it was great, and actually I think this one too is a movie on Netflix too. I think it's also a Netflix movie, not like made by Netflix, but I think it's on Netflix. This one follows Leonardo DiCaprio plays the main character. I haven't watched that one yet either, but maybe I will. But it's also I don't really know what genre to call it. Psychological thriller / horror is what I would say. But it basically follows this U.S. Marshal named Teddy Daniels, and he goes with his partner Chuck Aule, like Aule, to this place called Shutter Island, where there is a mental institution, but it's like kind of like a prison, because people are like, you know, have violent pasts and stuff. So it's like kind of one of those like prison-y mental institution places. But he goes there because one of the patients, Rachel Solando, has gone missing, and there's really no way for her to like actually get out, because they're in the middle of an island and there's like nothing around them. But somehow she has gotten out, and so the U.S. Marshals go to investigate and like see if they can find her or find out what happened. And so they get there, and they are talking to like the doctors and the orderlies, and, you know, just trying to get like some idea of what's happening here. But I'm afraid to say anything else, or it could spoil something. But it just starts to get weird, and like you start to wonder like who's telling the truth, who's like what's really happening, what isn't happening. And it's very cool, and very like there is like a real mystery and a real twist, and a real like I figured out the twist pretty early, just because this particular type of twist I'm good at figuring out. That's so cryptic, but like I'm pretty good at figuring out like this specific kind of thing. And so I figured it out pretty early on, but there were still some things that I didn't guess, and it didn't ruin anything or like take away from the experience. It was still very atmospheric, very like you just feel like on the edge of your seat, like what is happening, what is going on, like who's running things, who's like, you know, who's who, what's up. And so I loved it and I give it 5 stars. And that is all the books I read for January. So if you are still here, you're an angel. You're like my best friend. But seriously, thank you so much for watching, and I'm gonna keep doing this. If you have any ideas for things I could talk about, or like I could do maybe like a favorites video or least favorites video, or you know, whatever. So thank you so much, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you.